Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Boy Blu titled It's Time, and if we switch it over to here we have ourselves a track on YouTube. Now I've reviewed music from these guys before, this is the second track that I'm checking out from them. I'm looking forward to hearing more, so we're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. What do we got? Apparently this is a lyric video, by the way, so that'll be good. It's quite loud, actually. Headphones. Apparently this also features some AI art, just so you're aware, okay? Written by Sean O'Connor and Lisa Blue.
Open up in wonder, and the watchers roll on by.
It's great with the guitars, organs, bass, drums, and vocals. Very wistful with these bluesy overtones. So is this about like global warming and the damage done to nature and stuff like that? It's definitely an interesting angle to go with.
Lift your eyes from slumber, all you pretty ones.
Very cool response with those leads.
Ever feel alone? No. It's almost time to go home. Many fled the fires of tomorrow.
Or is it like figurative or metaphorical?
Many dug in and held their ground. And to the madmen in the office, it won't be so long, you won't be around. And to the victor goes the spoils. So the sinful king takes his crown. As the homeland sits unnoticed, not a home could be found.
Oh, they're talking about the housing crisis.
Lift your eyes from slumber.
I love the peppiness, like the majorist kind of overtones in the chorus. It's a nice shift in the severity of the verse.
All you pretty ones.
I mean, they're not super happy, don't get me wrong, but it's, you know. It's just refreshing entering on that major triad.
Don't you ever feel alone now? It's almost time to go home. Lift your eyes from slumber, now, you pretty ones. Don't you ever feel alone? It's almost time to go home.
It's almost time to go home for the pretty ones. Is it talking about how people are maybe asleep to the problems of the situation around them? Got a kind of Stairway to Heaven-ish kind of lead tone here going on. I kind of like those. I think the organ, where it's placed in the stereo field, is wonderful. Nice little bit of warmth in amongst those it's like pinch harmonics.
It's almost time to go home.
Keys, piano. So we got a special guest on the keys, piano, and organ, Gail Vogel. Nice. Good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know who's involved, you know? Mixed and mastered by Gail Vogel, Jada's Sister Productions, Baltimore, MD. Recorded at Whitegate Lodge, while produced by Sean O'Connor. Damn, they got a few people involved in this, eh? Lyric video, Lisa Blue and Sean O'Connor. Nice. All right, let's have a talk about this, because this is the conclusion of my review of this track called "It's Time" from Boy Blu. What do I think this track is about? I think it's talking about some of the issues that we have, like with like capitalism, like the office environment, corporate takeovers, the inability for people to really find housing or security within their lives. Talking about things being burned down and people trying to still like stand their ground against these opposing forces, like limiting their ability to live a life that they deserve. But the walls are basically closing in. It's talking about it's time to open your eyes to the reality of the situation around you and try and find that peace, try and go somewhere where things are better, I suppose. Is that it? Am I too far off with that? Hopefully I'm not too far off with that. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments for this video. But basically, I'm happy with this track, with the story that's being told here. I thought that the vocals from Boy Blu were great, you know? Nice clarity to them. I think that they sang really well. The vocals from Lisa, they showed great vocal technique, both in the head and chest voice there. Some interesting vibrato and legato passages there, a little bit of sort of ornamentation occasionally. But it was more about the storytelling and everything like that at the same time, I think. And we did really well with just being the sole focus or the focal point of the verse and chorus sections there, outside of those guitar leads there that we had, and any other sort of like gaps within through call and response or whatever. I think that we were very we communicated in a way that was authentic with the message there. We sounded like we genuinely cared for the people that we were singing to, and we sounded like we cared about what we were singing about. And coupled with some really kind of like captivating melodies as well in the hook sections, as well as in the verse parts with variation there to keep people interested. I think it's really well thought out in that specific. So I think the story and the vocals are good. The track at 4 minutes 44 is not short. It's outside of that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, but I don't particularly mind that, because I think that if you can make the most of that real estate and have lots of interesting stuff in there to keep people like kind of following along, then it's all right to do that, you know. Basically, what we had here is, we had verses and chorus sections here and little instrumental, introductions, and like, we had like times where it was just the accompaniment, and we basically went between these different occasions with little solo sections as well, to really kind of make the most of that amount of time and not sit on something for too long. We didn't repeat or copy and paste stuff within the structure of the composition, because we didn't need to, you know. We had two or three times that hook there to get the word stuck in your head. We had enough articulation and context within the verses to tell the wider story. And we always had the guitar lead singing in that solo part as well, and it was great, you know. And to have the solos on the guitar be so articulate and emotive, on top of the rhythm parts, which are nice and bright without being too sort of like shimmery or brittle, and the organs as well, adding a nice little bit of warmth in that mid-range with those triads there working. Well, you know, there was some seventh chords in there, so there was a little bit of sophistication there with the nuance with the emotionality of the chords and the harmony. But we didn't overcomplicate the motifs to a point where they felt inaccessible. The bass line supporting the root notes and the progressions, the drums with lots of range in there with like the little sort of like grooves and some occasional fills and stuff like that, just to kind of keep things moving along without overplaying and providing a great sort of focus and kind of movement forward to suit everything else. There was a nice nuance and chemistry within the rest of each of the elements within the mix. We didn't overcomplicate the composition with unnecessary layers. We didn't have everything at once. We would take things away and bring them back without things becoming too naked or empty. And ultimately, I just think the motif itself, like I remember saying in like the chorus section that I liked how it entered. It started with like that major tone, which was a contrast to the minor kind of focus for the verse parts, as well as the solo sections. I thought it was a little bit brighter, had a bit of hope to that hook. the motif was a little bit more, we'll get through this together. Just open your eyes, give it a chance. But then, of course, we also meted that with the reality that we were having to face if we were brave enough. So I thought the motif made sense. The instrumental performance behind it was great. The vocals were solid and the story was good. And I thought they were well connected. Finally, the recording, mixing and mastering, the studio production was tight. I mean, I think that the vocals had a nice presence in the mix. They're easy to follow along to, nicely compressed and filtered. The guitars were great. They were notched well in the frequency spectrum. They were panned as well, so they weren't just in the center of the stereo field as a focus point, which makes sense. The lead guitars had a nice reverb chain to them. A bit of a mistiness to them that made them sort of like sit in the mix really nicely. And there was automation, I think, of some of those guitar parts as well as the vocal parts. So it meant that they moved around the stereo field from left to right, which is cool, especially in that later half there. The bass was nicely controlled in the low range, and then the drums were nice and punchy. And there's a little side chaining, but not too much. I think things were typically like well spaced within the stereo field, and there were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum, so like things were well handled there. And also the leveling in general was really good. I'm really happy with it. The mix is really solid. I think they captured just a really solid performance from these guys, and there was dynamic range to this recording. Things weren't kind of pumping or like uncomfortably kind of like short with the dynamic range. And then basically it was nice and loud without pumping, so limiting was sorted. And this is basically a very positive review for this track by Boy Blu titled It's Time. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love by their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.